Colleagues and friends, hello, I'm Stanislav Chernog, the author and creator of the Vector Massage and Somatics School. Today we will talk about 5 deadly dangers of working with the gluteus maximus. As a matter of fact, why on earth are we talking about the gluteus maximus muscle, again about the buttocks? The fact is that the buttocks are an extremely important region. This is one of the largest muscles in our body and it affects a wide variety of health-related functions. First, our posture. Secondly, it maintains the stability of the pelvis. Thirdly, it is reflexively connected with large number of organs. Fourth, it can pinch nerves which can lead to problems in the lower extremities, numbness in the legs, muscle weakness, varicose veins, and so on and so on. The gluteus maximus is also very important because it is very beautiful. Everyone wants to have a partner with beautiful buttocks. The gluteus maximus is good for social success, it's important for health, and it's important for the aesthetics. Working with the gluteus maximus muscle is a real opportunity. If you work with it correctly, a person's health improves so much that one's life improves and the one lives longer. If your work is incorrect, then patient's health may deteriorate and the duration and quality of the one's life may noticeably decrease. Hernias, neuralgia, flat feet, problems with the intestines, with the urogenital area, with teeth, and much more. Please note that this video is demonstrational, it's not a tutorial. As a result, we take not quite natural and not quite comfortable and characteristic postures. So the first mistake is working with the gluteus maximus muscle before working on the ligaments of the sacrum. The fact is that the gluteus maximus muscle is attached to the sacrum and to the ilium. As a result, if the sacrum and ilium are not positioned correctly relative to each other, this will lead to the fact that no matter how much you work with the gluteus maximus, it will still be in the wrong state, it will get inflamed and will hurt. Thus, in order to put the pelvic bones in place, it is fundamentally necessary to work with the ligaments that hold the sacrum relative to the ilium. If you do not do this, your work will be not only useless but also harmful. If you work exclusively with the gluteus maximus muscle, rumple its attachment points and do not take into account that there are ligaments of the sacrum that connect the sacrum with the ilium, there are ligaments of the sacrum that connect the sacrum with the lower spine, there are ligaments that connect the ilium with the lumbar spine. If you do not take into account the presence, the existence of all these ligaments, do not take into account the fact that they are inflamed to varying degrees, overstretched to varying degrees, and it is necessary to work asymmetrically along the ligaments of the sacrum, then you will certainly have problems with the gluteus maximus muscle and the effectiveness of your work with it will be negligible, if not negative. Fun fact, we work with sacral ligament for about 3 to 5 minutes and work with gluteus maximus muscle can last for half an hour, so you devote very little time to the ligament of the sacrum, but if you do not do that, your 20 minutes work will be meaningless and harmful. The second cardinal and significant mistake of working with the gluteus maximus muscle will be not taking into account the fact that the gluteus maximus is associated with other structures. First of all, it is the square muscle of the lower back. If a person does not work on the gluteus maximus muscle on one side, then the one will replace its work through excessive tension of the square muscle of the lower back. Thus, the square muscle of the lower back on its side will be excessively tense, it must be relaxed. And on the other hand, the square muscle will be overstretched and must be treated. If you do not work with the square muscle of the lower back, and it is also worth adding the latissimus dorsi and iliopsoas muscles there, then even if you have cued the gluteus maximus muscle, then the habitual pattern of the functioning of the body will drag it into the old stereotype, and the gluteus maximus again will break. What do we have to do? If we have a problematic gluteus maximus muscle, then we must stretch the lower back from our side. That is, we have a problem in the right gluteal muscle, and we have to stretch the right side of the lower back. Stretch the square muscle of the lower back on the right side and work on it on the left side too. See how our model's eyes widen? This is due to the fact that she has a distinct soreness in the square muscle of the lower back on the opposite side of the problematic gluteus maximus. It should be remembered that the square muscle of the lower back is quite small and it is very tightly associated with hernias in the lumbar spine. Therefore, we work with the square muscle of the lower back very delicately and accurately. If I don't work with the square muscle of the lower back, then my work firstly on the gluteus maximus will be meaningless and harmful. and secondly, it can lead to an increase in the size of hernias in the lumbar spine. In this case, you need to massage the overstretched square muscles of the lower back and on the other hand stretch it. Do not confuse it. The place where it is compressed, it must be stretched, and where it is overstretched, it should be crumpled so that it shrinks. In this particular case, the left side of the lower back is overstretched and is painful, while the right side of the lower back is more ticklish and tight and needs to be stretched. If we're talking about stretching, then the movements are sliding, directed in different directions. If we're talking about spasm, then we're talking about smooth, deep kneading. It must be remembered that the square muscle of the lower back is located very deep. The next very significant aspect, ignoring which can lead to serious consequences, will be working with the lateral surface of the thigh. The fact is that the gluteus maximus muscle has two attachments, firstly along the back of the thigh, along the gluteal tuberosity, and it is also woven into the lateral surface of the thigh into the wide tendon of the lateral surface of the thigh, iliotibial tract. A common problem with the gluteus maximus muscle is the growth of the iliotibial tract to the surrounding structures. This happens in order to compensate for a non-working muscle. In this case, if you did everything right, worked with the gluteus maximus, with ligaments, with the square muscle of the lower back, but did not remove the adhesive process along the iliotibial tract, then the body will be pulled back into the same process. Why is that bad? Because every time you try and fail, your body becomes convinced that it will never work. Your patient is losing faith in a good outcome. Moreover, every time we treat a patient, we expend the body's energy. Every time we heal and receive a rollback, it is as if we are wasting energy in vain. In this case again, we absolutely need to take additional measures to work with the gluteus maximus muscle, but we are not working with the muscle itself, but with the surrounding spaces. We need to work on the lateral surface of the thigh, separating the lateral surface of the thigh from the surrounding space. We have a strip of the iliotibial tract. We need to move it forward, we need to move it back, and we need to move it up and down until the pain disappears completely. It is very important to work in the correct sequence here. We first work on the gluteus maximus muscle, then we work on the ligaments of the sacrum, then we work on the square muscle of the lower back and possibly the iliopsoas muscle. And then without fail, so that all the work does not go down the drain, we work with the lateral surface of the thigh, shifting it forward, moving it back, moving it up and moving it down, working in all directions where there is soreness until there is a significant reduction in soreness. It is in this case that your work will have at least some meaning. There is a category of people who say, how can we work against the lymph flow? If we're talking about the lateral surface of the thigh, then this is an insignificant objection because there are practically no lymphatic vessels in the lateral surface of the thigh. The fourth very significant mistake will be the judgment that you have done a massage of the gluteus maximus muscle and that's it, your work is finished. It is very important to convey to the patient that you are massaging the buttocks for 10 to 15 to 20 minutes and then the one can live a great life. If the gluteus maximus has not worked for decades, it won't work if you massage it for 5 minutes. It must be exercised after you have treated it. Moreover, you must first treat the muscle, then exercise it. You first do the gluteus maximus prone procedures. You first show the patient how to self-massage the gluteus maximus with a ball. After that, you without fail give the patient exercises that will allow one to turn on only the gluteus maximus muscle in isolation. The fact is that there is a familiar stereotype of how the gluteus maximus works. It works poorly and everything helps it. The lower back helps and the latissimus dorsi and a lot of structures that you don't even know about, you don't feel them and don't understand when they help to move the buttocks. And your task is to turn off all the structures that help, which should not work when you take a step, when you go out, run, stand and turn on the buttocks. To do this, you need to give your patient an isolated exercise which is directed only onto the buttocks, so that your patient's lower back does not turn on. If you don't, then all your work will go down the drain and the patient will be dissatisfied despite the fact that you did everything right. The patient's condition will not improve, but worsen. And finishing our list of mistakes is a really deadly mistake. It's a really dangerous story. It's a work that leads to a pinched sciatic nerve. The fact is that approximately in the zone where the gluteus maximus muscle is located, the sciatic nerve enters the space between the sacrum and the ischium. If you work in the wrong place, then this is highly likely to cause injury and pinching. The problem here is that very often, if you overload the sciatic nerve, it turns off the gluteus maximus, and this in turn leads to a compensatory inclusion of the piriformis muscle. A huge, terrible problem is piriformis spasm. People spend a huge amount of money, do blockades, go to neurologists, have injections just to relieve a spasm of the piriformis muscle. So when you're pressing correctly in the wrong place, and this place is somewhere in the middle of the gluteus maximus muscle, if you press in this area, then you have all the risks of causing a person to pinch the sciatic nerve and spasm piriformis muscle. This is a severe problem that is difficult to treat, especially if you do not understand the essence of this problem. Thus, when you work with the gluteus maximus, you should work exclusively along the border of the ischium. You should work exclusively along the border of the ilium, along the sacrum, and a little bit along the coccyx. Under no circumstances should you move away from the bone. If you have entered a structure where there is a lot of muscles, where there is a lot of meat, where it is soft, you are working in a risk zone. You should not work in this area if you do not want to get serious complications. It is excruciating pain that can last for years. It is excruciating pain that causes people to be unable to get out of bed. Everyone who has had lymphedema or sciatica will confirm my word that this is a very difficult, poorly treatable problem. Where is this piriformis muscle located? Let me show you. It starts from the anterior surface of the sacrum and extends to the pelvic bones. It goes to the femur, but it does not matter to us. It is important for us that here, from the anterior surface of the sacrum, nerves come out that are pinched by the piriformis muscle. That is a difficult problem because pinched piriformis nerves lead to pinched piriformis nerves. Friends, colleagues, thank you for your attention. That was an analysis for 5 main mistakes that can be made by working or not working with some areas around the gluteus maximus. If there was something interesting in this video for you, please like it. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel where we tell you how to do massage and make money from it. I am Stanislav Chernog, the author and founder of the Vector Massage and Somatics School. See you again and goodbye, friends.